Hi, everyone. Welcome to my daily chess musings chess camp. This is Thursday, and right now I'm going to go ahead and just set up. So please bear with me. Today I'm going to be teaching you some end games. We are going to officially start at 2 p.m. So I need a couple minutes to set up. So just please be patient. Minutes to set up. So just please be patient. Oops. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my live stream. We are going to officially start at 2 p.m. Right now, I am just setting this up. So we are going to officially start in 4 minutes at 2, actually, in 3 minutes at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please be patient with me. Okay, so more people are showing up. That's fantastic. We are gonna start in about 2 to 3 minutes because I'm officially on at 2 p.m. So just please be patient. In the meantime, if you want to type something in the chat box, feel free to just do that so I can read it. If there's anything you want to learn, then I'll be happy to cover it. So today, what I'm planning to do is I'm going to go ahead and teach you guys some more end games, and I'll probably show you guys some puzzles too. So today is going to be fun. You guys are going to learn a lot today. So it's two. Okay, so it's 2 minutes. I hope that everyone's having a great day. If you don't know who I am, my name is Lauren Goodkind, and I am a chess teacher in the San Francisco Bay Area. This is my website, Chess by Lauren. I have written 2 chess books. I've also created 500 puzzles too. So I do a lot for the chess community. So that's great. Chess is a fantastic game because it teaches you planning and thinking ahead. So it's fantastic. So you guys welcome. I noticed that more people are showing up. So welcome. I'm gonna start in less than 1 minute. And what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go ahead and just do a review because to yesterday I taught you how to checkmate with a sorry, I taught you how to promote the pawn to a queen. Um, so we're gonna just do a review and then I'm gonna teach you some more in-game positions. Okay. And again, if I ask you a question, please answer me by just typing something in the chat. I would really appreciate it. So this lesson is going to be interactive. Okay. Okay, it's officially 2 p.m. And because of that, I am going to go ahead and get started. So yesterday I did teach you how to successfully promote this pawn to a queen. And as I told you before, we need to get this king. Oh wait, hold on. Let me go ahead and load the position right now. Okay, we're gonna simply just move the king over here. King goes here, and then we want to get the king in front of the pawn. So we can move the king over to a3. King goes here, and then we want the king over to we want to move the king over to e4. So remember, the king is in front of the pawn. And also, just so that you know, if you remember, if we move the pawn up 2 spaces on the very first move, this is a big mistake. Okay, so just remember, the king goes in front. So that's very, very important. Um, in this position, we're gonna simply just move the sorry. It is back to move, so let's say that the king goes to f6. And remember, the king wants to go to d7 or f7. You guys, welcome to my live stream. If you have any questions, feel free to just type it in the chat box so I can see it. Right now, I'm just doing a review because yesterday I taught you this position, and I want you to make sure that you remember how to do it. So in this position, since this is an A pawn, our goal is for this king to go to d7 or f7. So the king would be controlling these 3 squares. So that's very, very important. So in this position, since the king went to f6, then that means that we can advance to the 5th rank. So we're going to go ahead and go to d5. Now, if the king went d6, then yes, then we can go king to f5. Okay, and then let's say that the king goes to e7, and then we're gonna simply just move the king over to e5. Yep. Yep, exactly. Okay, so king goes to e5, and then if it was white to move, notice this white king cannot go to the 6th rank, but it is black to move. So black has to make a move. So let's say that the king goes to f7, and guess what? We can advance our king to the 6th rank, and that's exactly what we want to do. So king goes here. We're gonna simply let's say black's king simply just goes to e8. And then in this position, if you remember, we are going to go ahead and move the king over to e6. And the reason why this is important is because it is controlling the d7 and then the f7 squares. Because again, as I told you before, in order to successfully promote this pawn to a queen, this king needs to go on d7, or the king needs to also be on f7. And the reason why we want to do that is because it's controlling these 3 squares. So it is Black's move. So let's say that the king goes to f8. And yes, we can go to d7, but it's a little bit too early because this pawn is just far away from this king right now. So we can simply just move the king, move the pawn to e4. Let's move it up 2 spaces. And then this king is gonna just go back to e8. And then in this position, we're going to simply just move the pawn to e5. And then now it is black to move. If the king goes to d8, well, guess what? Now we can finally get the king over to f7, and since the king is controlling these 3 squares in front of the pawn, it is impossible for black to stop this pawn from promoting. And it's the same concept. If the king goes to f8, then the king can go to d7, and then the king is controlling these 3 squares, and because of that, it is impossible for black to stop this pawn from promoting. So, for example, king goes here, pawn goes up, it checks the king goes to f8. We're going to simply move the pawn to e7, and then king goes to f7, and then we can go ahead and get a queen. So, So, yep, this was just a quick review on how to do this. So that's great. So what I'm gonna do now is I am gonna go ahead and teach you another end game, and you will find this end game to be very beneficial. So let me go ahead and set it up. So I'm gonna have yeah, okay, so this pawn is going to be here. I'm gonna have the king right there. And this is the position right here. So in this position, I'm going to just talk about it. Black is going this way, and my question is, so it is white to move. We have the white pieces, and the question right now is, what do you think the outcome should be? Assuming that both sides play very good moves, what do you think the outcome should be in this position? So it is white to move. So what should the outcome be? So feel free to just type something in the chat box on YouTube so I can read your answer. Okay, so one person said a draw. Okay, that's interesting. So in this position, white can actually okay, so Valentine says queen to I think you meant to say queen to h5. So in this position, white can actually win in this position. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but with correct play, white should win. Queen goes to h5. This is the correct move. Because first of all, right now, black is threatening to promote the pawn to a queen. So when we go queen to h5, it does stop. This queen pins the pawn to the king. So therefore, that cannot just move the pawn and become a queen. So this is a great move. If I was black, I would go king to d2, and now I'm threatening to promote the pawn to a queen right now. So what should white do now? So feel free to just type something in the chat box. So what should white do right now? So remember, this is a win. We're not playing for a draw. We gotta win in this position. So what should white do? So I'm gonna give okay, so Ronald says queen to h2. Um, check at g5. Yeah, I think those two checks, I think that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and go with queen to g5. I think queen to h2, I think that also works too. I'm gonna simply go queen to g5. Okay, so queen, it's checking the king, and I'm gonna simply just move the king over to d1, and now I'm still threatening to promote the pawn to a queen. And what should what should white do now? So again, we gotta go for a win. We want to win in this position. So what should white do? Okay, so just a obvious hint is we definitely want to move the queen, because if we move the king, then black is simply just going to promote the pawn to a queen. So it's obviously we gotta move something. We gotta move the queen. So where should white move right now? Where should this queen go? So feel free to answer type something in the chat box. Okay. Okay, so you guys, where should white go? Okay. So Valentine says G1. Okay, that's a interesting idea. So if the queen goes to G1, then this is a big mistake, because black can simply just move the pawn to a queen, and then that stops the check. We don't want black to promote the pawn to a queen. So because of that, queen at g1, that would be a mistake. So we gotta do something else. So I'm gonna give you guys a hint. We need to move this queen, and it needs to check the king right now because that's what we want to do. So what should white do? Okay, okay, so we got some people, they say queen to d. Okay, yeah, so two people said queen to d5, and yep, I do like queen to d5. This is a very simple check, and I'm gonna go ahead and play it. So queen goes to d5, it checks the king, and then notice, like, okay, I have to move the king. Now I'm gonna give you okay, so if the king goes to e1, then what is white's best move right now? So I'm just trying to, I'm getting you guys to think. If the king goes to e1, then where should white go next? So Andrea says queen to e4. Okay, actually, we want to do something else in this position. If you notice right now, if the Bollywood says queen to a5. Okay, unfortunately, we want to do something else. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a hint. In order to win in this position, white needs to successfully, safely take this pawn. And one person said, king to d6. Yes, since this pawn cannot move, we need to take advantage of that by moving the king over to d6. So that's the move right now, okay? Because eventually what we want to do is we want to move the king over to like d3, e3, or f3 so it could attack the pawn. And if the king can attack the e2 pawn, and if the queen attacks it, then we can safely capture this pawn. So we have to get the king closer to this pawn. So that's what happens if I go e1. But let's say that I go king to c2. What should white do now? Good. I'm glad that this is making sense to you guys, everyone. Exactly. So king goes to c2. So Andreas says queen to you said. Oh, okay. Yep, queen goes to e4, and I do like this move. You want to move the queen closer to the king and pawn. I do like this move. It's attacking the pawn and the king at the same time. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and move the king over to um d2, and then so we're making good progress. What should I do now? So I'm going to give you guys a hint. We still need to move the queen because if we move the king, then we can promote. Okay, so Andreas says queen to d4, and that's correct. We're going to simply just move the queen over here and check. I have to move, and again, if I move the king to e1, then what's the best move for white? What is white's best move if I go king to e1? Yes. So if I go king to e1, the best move is king goes to e6 because I cannot promote this pawn to a queen. So if black was smart, the black king is not going to go to e1. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and go king to c2. Okay, so it is white to move. Where should white go in this position? So again, remember, I'm still threatening to promote this pawn to a queen. So what should white do? Andrea says queen to e3, and that is correct. This was a very interesting move, everyone, because when the queen goes to e3, notice this is not a check. But notice, it does not make sense for this pawn to promote because if the pawn promotes to a queen, guess what? It's not protected. The queen can simply just take the queen. Because of that, queen to e3, this is a good move. The good okay, so black is gonna go ahead and go king to d1, so it can protect the pawn. And then what should white do now? So what should white do? Okay, so Andreas says queen to d3, and then this is the correct move. Let's just talk about this move for a second. Right now, the queen is attacking this pawn and also attacking the king at the same time. And if you notice right now, if I don't this king only has 2 moves. If I go king to c1, then the queen can simply just take the pawn. So therefore, the only good move that black has is to move the king over to e1. But this is actually very good for us because if you notice, our pawn, the black pawn on e2 cannot move. So therefore, what should white do? What should white do now? Yeah, so we're gonna simply just move the king so we can go king to e6. And I also think that king to d6, I also think that's a good move, but king e6, that's fine. Okay, so we took advantage that this pawn cannot move right now. So I got 2 possible moves. Let's say that I go king to f2, and then what should we do now? So what should I do? Queen goes to d4. Yep, we can do that. We need to check. So queen to d4 is good. We can also go f5 too. Queen goes to d4. It checks the king. Queen goes to, yeah, queen goes to d4, and then I'm gonna go ahead and check. I'm gonna go ahead and then go here. And then what should white do now? Okay, so what should okay, queen goes to f4. Obviously, yes. Um, queen goes to f4, and all we were trying to do, like in this point of the game, all we're trying to do is we're trying to force the king over to e1 so the pawn cannot move. That's what we're trying to do. If the king goes to e1, then that means we can simply continue to move the king over, and then we want this king to attack this pawn. So this is a good move. Obviously, I'm not gonna go king to e1 because if I do that, then the white king can simply just move forward. That's not gonna be good. So let's say that I go king to g1. So what should white do now? Okay, Andreas says queen to e3. Yep, that's the correct move. Queen goes here. It is checking the king, also attacking the pawn at the same time. And then again, black's only move is to move the king to f1. So the king is protecting the pawn. Obviously, if I go to these 3 squares, then you can simply just take the pawn. And that's not going to be good for black. So I'm going to go ahead and go king to f1. And then what should white do? So I'm gonna give you guys a hint is we gotta force this king to go to e1. So, yep, queen goes to f3, And this is a beautiful move because again, it attacks the pawn and it checks the king at the same time. And black only has two possible moves. Again, if the king goes to g1, we simply just capture the pawn. So therefore, the only good move for black is to move the king over to e1. And then now white is very happy right now because the pawn on e2 cannot move. So therefore, what should white do? What should white do right now? Um, so Andrea says, what if the pawn was on f2? That's actually a very good question. I will talk more about this after we get through this position. So, yeah, we want to simply just go king to e5. So that's great. And then again, I've got two possible moves. If I go king to d1, then what should you guys do? What should white do if I go king to d1? King to queen to d3. Okay, so you guys have to remember this. If I go king to d1, if you notice this pawn, the queen is pinning this pawn to the king. So therefore, there's no need to move this queen right now. This pawn cannot move. So if the king goes to d1, you can simply just move the king over to e4, right? So you need to pay attention to like if the pawn is pinned or not. Okay. Yes, you guys have to remember that. It's just like you can technically like go queen to d3, but it's just you're just making more moves. It's unnecessary moves. So you have to just remember there's no need to check if I go king to d1. So you simply just move the king over to e4. And then again, I'm gonna go ahead and go king to d2. And then what should white do now? So what should Okay, so Andrea says queen to d3, and this is a good move. So in this, okay, so this is a good move because it forces the king um in front of the pawn, and that's exactly what we want to do. Because if I go here, the pawn cannot move. Notice that if I go king to c1, then the white queen can just simply just take the pawn. So therefore, I'm gonna go king to e1, and then what should white do now? So what should white do? King goes to e3, exactly. And guess what? Mission accomplished. We finally got our king to attack this pawn. And this is fantastic because now white can safely just take the pawn on e2. So it's my move. Black's only move is to go king to f1, and then queen can just take the pawn. So fantastic. And as you probably know, a king and a queen um this should be a pretty easy checkmate, but we still have to be careful. If I go king to g1, then the white king should go to f3, and then king goes to h1, and then this is going to be checkmate. So let's go ahead and just do a review. Actually, Andreas asked the question, what happens if the pawn was on f2? And that's actually a very good question. Let me go ahead and talk about that. Okay. So if you have a position like this, if black and white, if both sides play correctly, then this is actually going to be a draw. The reason why is like if the queen keeps on checking the king, it's gonna um the position is going to be like this, and um the oh oh no, sure, okay, wait, I don't know what happened. Let me just set that up again. Sorry. Um, mhm. Okay. That's the only position. Okay, that's good. Okay, in this position, um, it's not a good idea. Well, actually, no. This position is a draw because if the queen takes the pawn, then this is going to be stalemate. Um, so queen can go here. It checks the king. Can go to g1. And then notice that black is threatening to promote the pawn to a queen. So therefore, white's queen is going to go and check again. And then if black needs to play this right, king needs to go back to h1. This is a draw. But you have to remember, remember that if you move the king to f1, then this is a mistake because um white can white's king can simply just move and the king is getting closer to the pawn. So you have to remember is if you have an f pawn, um you have to just remember just go to h1 or like in the corner, and if that's the case it's going to be a draw. So just remember is um oh yeah, and then um white can force a perpetual check here maybe. Um, so that's what happens if the pawn is on f2 right now. And then that's the same concept. Is if you have a pawn on c2, then this is going to be a draw too. So this is going to be a draw. I hope that this is making sense, everyone. So this is going to be a draw. And then again, moving the king to c1, that's a mistake because white's king can simply just move up. And then, yes, and then, but black needs to continue to move the king. Yes, okay, fantastic. Okay, so you have to just remember is if black has um, a D pawn or a E pawn, then white should win. Okay. Now you might be asking, well, how about A2 or H2? And in this position, it depends on the position. If we have a position like this, then this is going to be a draw. Okay. I mean, this queen can go here, here, this king is simply just way too far away um from the pawn and the king. So essentially, the queen is checking the king goes here, queen goes here, it checks, king goes here, queen goes here, check, king goes here, queen goes here, check, king goes here. And then you have to remember is if you are black, remember to go to G1. If you go to H1, this is a mistake because the queen can go to F1 and that's going to be checkmate. So you have to remember is if you have the black pieces, you want to simply just go to G1. If you just so that's how black can draw the game right now. Now the interesting thing about this position is what happens if we have a position like this. So if you notice right now, this king, it's much closer to the pawn and king. And what do you think the outcome should be now? Do you think that this is a draw, or do you think white can win? Do you guys have any ideas what the outcome should be? So Andreas says it is winning. Yep, that's true. So we're gonna just examine the winning line. So yes, the reason why this is a win is because white's king is very close to black's pawn and king. So it makes a huge difference because as I told you before, if the king was like on g8, the king is too far away. Yes, okay. So let's yeah, so I think okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and move the queen closer to a1. king goes to G2, and then we're gonna go ahead and get this white queen as close as possible to black's king. So queen goes here. I'm gonna go here. So notice that I'm doing like this zigzag motion with my queen, so it can get closer. King goes here. Queen goes here. King goes here. Queen goes here. Okay, king goes here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and move my queen over to e2. King goes here. And then if you notice right now, we can't just we can't get even closer to the king right now, because if we go here, then that's not gonna be safe right now. So now we gotta do something different right now. What should white do in this position right now? And if you notice right now, notice this black pawn, it can still promote. So what should white do in this position? Okay, so Andrea says king to g3, and that's the correct move. And you might be saying like, yeah, but then the black pawn can promote. And guess what? It's okay. We're just gonna allow black to promote the pawn. So if we promote the pawn to a queen, then do you guys see the checkmate? I hope you guys see the checkmate right now. So we're gonna simply just move the queen over to yeah, so there's actually two yeah, actually there's a couple ways we can do it. We can go queen to e1. And notice that this is checkmate, so that's fantastic. The queen can also go to d1. That's also checkmate. And also notice that the queen can go to f1, oh sorry, f2, and then this is also checkmate too. So that's fantastic. So here's another question you might be asking is, what happens if the pawn becomes a knight? Check. Okay, and it is white to move. We gotta get out of check. So where should we move the king? The rook checkmate. Well, we can't actually do that right now because white's king is in check right now. So we have to we have to get out of check right now. So where should the king go to get out of check right now? Yeah. So where should we move the king? So the knight's checking the king, and where should we move it? Okay, we can go king to h3. I actually suggest um going to king to f3, because if we go king to h3, then notice that this knight can go to f2, and then it checks the king. So therefore I actually recommend moving the king to f3. And if you notice right now, this knight cannot go anywhere to check the king. So that's why I would move king to f3 instead of h3, because where is this knight gonna go right now? So if you notice right now, this king cannot move. So it doesn't matter like where this knight goes. So if the knight goes to g3, then we have a checkmate right over here. And then if the knight goes to f2, this is going to be an easy checkmate. White can simply just capture the knight. King goes to h1, and then the queen goes here, and then that's going to be a checkmate. So that's something you got to just remember is um, if the pawn if the pawn promotes to a knight, just go f3, because again, black has no checks. If you go king to h3, then black can check on f2. Um, so I hope you found this position to be helpful. Um, Do you guys want us, do you want me guys to teach you another end game? Or, do you guys want me to, give you guys a puzzle? So what do you guys want me to do right now? So just tell me, I can show you guys another end game position, or I can give you, okay. So puzzle. Okay, so actually, so David Pacheco says the book versus Queen. Yes, I remember you telling me that. And let me go ahead and set up that position. Yes. Okay. Um, okay. So hold on for a second. I need to find the position first. So hold on. Okay. So let me set this position and then I'm gonna go ahead and just talk about it. I can't the rook and okay, so I'm gonna be talking about queen and king versus king and rook. Just to let you know, this is a very it's a complicated position. It's not easy to do this. But I can talk about this position with you guys first, okay? Um okay, so we're gonna start out in this position, and of course white should win in this position because white is up a queen. But if you notice right now, that king is on the edge. This rook is on the seventh rank right now. Um, so the question is, do you guys have any idea what to do? So it is white to move. So do you guys have any idea where to go right now? But I'm gonna give you guys a hint. It is right to move, but in this position, but right now in this position, we want to achieve this exact same position, but we want black to move. Queen goes to D8. Okay, I think that will work. Um, So then, okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a hint. We want to achieve this exact same position, but we want black to move. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and make a triangle movement with the queen. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna simply just move the queen over to E5. Okay. And then again, black has some possible moves. Obviously, if the rook goes here, then we can simply just take the rook right now, and then white should win, right? And then the other move is like, what happens if the king goes to c8? Then we can simply just go queen to e8, and then that's going to be checkmate, right? So that means black, um, let's say that the black king goes to a7. And then again, we want to follow through with this triangle movement right now. So the move right now is we're gonna go queen to a1, and then notice that black's only move is to go king to b1, so b8, and then now we can go back to queen to a5, and then notice that we reached the exact position. This is the initial position, but now it is black to move right now. So this is fantastic. Okay, because when we first started out in this position, it was right to move, but we made this triangle movement, and now it is black to move. So that's okay. So that was step one, and then it is black to move. So again, there are some things. I mean, black can do a couple of things. So I'm gonna ask you a question. If the king goes to c8, then what is white's best move here? So what is white's best move right now? Um, okay, so the problem with queen to a8 is the rook can just stop the check right now. And the position, right, so Andrea says queen to a3, and then this is the best move. Because the queen is it is pinning the rook to the king. So that's why, like, when you're playing chess, you need to pay attention to what pieces are on the same diagonal. That's actually very important. The queen is pinning the rook to the king. That cannot save the rook, so if the king goes here, we simply just take the rook right now. Okay, so let's go back. And that's what happens if the king goes to c8. Okay, so obviously, if we go here, we simply just take the rook. Okay, if the rook goes here, we simply just take it. Okay, if the rook goes here, we simply just take the rook right now. So what happens if the rook goes here now? Okay. Um Queen goes to a5. Um so let's just talk about it. Okay. So queen goes to e5. Let's think about this. Okay, so let's think about this. If the king goes here, then we can go queen to c7, and then that's gonna be checkmate. So the king can't go here. But let's say that the king goes to a7. What do we want to do now? So David says, what do I know about this endgame is that you want to eventually win the rook by forking the king and rook with the queen. Um, yeah, so that's yeah, so that's correct. In order to win, the queen, you gotta find a queen fork, so the queen can fork the rook at the same time right now. So we gotta make some moves so the queen will be able to do that. So the question is, if the king goes to a7, then what should I do? So this is not easy, but um what should we do? Queen goes to c7. Not too sure about queen to c7, because we gotta go find a um right. So the thing is, like, we gotta go for a queen fork right now. So this is not gonna quite, yeah, this is not gonna quite work right now. But let's go back for a second. Um so in this position, so anything else right now? Anything else right now? Um, okay. Queen goes to a5. Interesting. Okay. If queen goes to a5, then the king is gonna go here. Can we do queen fork? Okay, maybe not. Okay, so let's go back for a second. This is very complicated. Let's go back. Okay, so okay. And then let's wait, hold on for a second. Oh wait, sorry. So the rook goes here, we go here, check. King goes here. And then okay, so, I'm gonna give you guys the hint is we're gonna simply just move the queen and check. Just notice this queen is on the long diagonal right now. So we're gonna simply just check on we're gonna go ahead and go queen to G7. Um, and I hope that this move makes sense to you right now. The queen is checking the king, and it's just very important that this queen is on this long diagonal. Um, so if okay, so there's a couple moves. If the king goes here, then what is white's best move? So what is white's best move right now? So we can do a queen fork right now. So that's how we're gonna win. We gotta move the queen so it can attack the king and the rook at the same time. So queen goes to G8, exactly. Queen goes to G8, it attacks the king and the rook at the same time. So once this king gets out of check, then we can simply just take the rook right now. So that's great. So let's go back a couple of moves. Um, so that's what happens if the king goes to B8. If the king goes to A7, we're gonna still do the same thing. We're gonna go ahead and move the queen to G8, and then this is still a queen fork right now. So let's go back. Let's go back. Um, so that's what we want to do in this position is we want to go queen to e5, and then that leads to a queen fork. Okay. Now the other question is like, well, what happens if the rook goes to b2? What should we do now? So what should white do? So remember, if we have a queen, we gotta look out for queen forks. Yes. So if the rook goes to b2, we simply just move the queen over to e5, and then this is an easy queen fork right now. King gets out of check, and then we can simply just take the rook right now. Okay, so notice that if the king goes to c8, notice we don't have to capture the rook. We can actually just go ahead and just do checkmate. So let's go back. So that's what happens if the rook goes to b2, and then now the question is what happens if the rook goes to b1? What do you think we should do now? So what should I do right now? So obviously we want to move this queen. It should be with a check. Any idea? Well, I know it says queen to c7. If queen goes to c7, we have to be very careful right now because the king's only move is here. But um, I don't see any queen forks right now. So let's go back for a second. Andreas says queen to d8. I think this works out. Um, okay. So queen goes to d8. King's only move is to go a7, and then it is white's move. Where should white go? Okay, so we want to move this queen again. and we gotta to the trick is like you kind of have to calculate where should this queen go. So gonna give you a hint is like we gotta kind of have to try to find a queen fork right now. Andrea says queen to e7. My recommendation is um we go queen to e4, and I do like this move because this queen, it is on the long diagonal. Um, so queen to e7, that's kind of interesting, but I do prefer queen to d4 because it's on the long diagonal. And if you think about it right now, um, if the king goes to a6, then we can simply just move the queen over here, and then that's a checkmate right now. So that means, let's say that the king goes to a7, then I'm sorry, a8, then where should I go? So we want to set up a queen fork right now. Queen to h8, and that's the key. Okay, we wanted to move the queen on the long diagonal because we have access to these squares. If the king and the rook, if they're far apart, you wanna try to find a queen fork. So queen goes to h8. It is checking the king, and now I'm gonna ask you a question. What would you do if I move the rook over to b8? Then what is white's best move right now? So what is white's best move right now? Queen at a1, and then this is a checkmate. Okay. So this is why it's so important for this queen to be on the long diagonal. That's actually very, very important. So let's go back. Um, so that's what happens if the rook goes to b1. Okay, so now I need to talk about what would happen if the rook goes to these squares. So if the rook goes here, we can obviously just take it. If the rook goes here, we have to be very careful in this position because do we want to capture this rook right now? No. So if we capture the rook right now, notice actually no, actually I'm sorry. We can simply just capture the rook right now. Okay. So now the question is what happens if we go rook to e7? So if we go rook to e7, then what do we do? So remember we have a queen, so we need to look for a queen fork. Um, yep, we can go queen to d8, and then that's a queen fork. Very good. So once this king gets out of check, then we can simply just take the rook. So that's very, very good. Also notice that the queen can go queen to b4, and then this is also a queen fork too. If the rook blocks, then we can simply just take it. So that's fantastic. And so that's what happens if the rook goes to e7. If the rook goes to f7, then what do you think we should do? Andrea says queen to e5, and I think this looks pretty good to me. So again, let's just talk about this move. If the king goes to c8, then we can just do checkmate. And this is beautiful because it's checkmating the king, and then it's also attacking the rook too at the same time. That's great. So that means the king shouldn't go there. But let's say that the queen goes to A7, what should white do? What should white do right now? Mhm. So it's white to move. What should white do? Queen to A1 and check. That looks pretty good. So again, you gotta calculate try to calculate a couple moves ahead. All we're trying to do is to execute a queen fork. Queen goes to A1 and then again um um king goes to B8 and then it is white to move. What should white do? So again, notice this rook is on this diagonal, so that's actually a very good thing. But notice this queen is on this long diagonal. So what should white do in this position? Queen goes to H8. Okay, not quite. What we want to try to do is we want to try to take advantage of this diagonal. Um, we want to try to get because again, um, we want to this queen needs to stay close to A2 because of the rook diagonal. So we're gonna go ahead and go queen to B2. And if you notice right now, when we go queen to B2, this queen is still on the long diagonal. That's actually very, very important. So again, if that goes here to stop the check, then we simply just go here, and that's gonna be checkmate. And again, if the king goes here, then what do we do? So notice that both kings are one square apart. This is actually very good. What should I do? Queen to H8, and then notice that this is going to lead to checkmate. This is why it's important for this queen to be on the long diagonal, right? That's very, very important. Black's only move is to go rook to F8, queen goes here, and then that's going to be a checkmate. So that's what happens if the king goes to C8, and then let's say that the king goes to A7. Then what do we do now? Queen to A2, and that's what we want to do. Is again, we are always looking out for queen forks. Queen goes to A2, it's forking the rook and the king at the same time. That's fantastic. Once black gets out of the check, then we can simply just take the rook, and it's going to be checkmate very, very soon. So that's what happens if um mhm. That's what happens if the queen goes to F7. If the rook goes to um G7, then what should white do? Queen to E5. Yep. So again, we simply just go queen to E5. Notice that this is a queen fork. And this queen is on the long diagonal again. If the black rook decides to go here to stop the checkmate, I'm sorry, the check, then we simply just move the queen over here, and then that would be fantastic. So that's what happens if the rook goes to G7, and then if the rook goes to H8, then what should we do? So remember, it's all about like we want to move the queen on the long diagonal again and check. So, yeah, we wanna just go queen to e5 again. And again, we want notice that this rook is on this diagonal. This queen is on the long diagonal. So let's just think about this. If the king goes to c8, then we simply just go here. That's gonna be checkmate. And then if the let's say that the king goes here, what do we do now? What should we do in this position? Queen to a1, exactly. This queen, it's on this long diagonal. It is checking the king, and then again, if the rook goes here and block, what do we do? So what is white's best move right now? Queen to h8, and then that's going to be checkmate. So that's fantastic. And again, if the king goes to a7, we're still gonna go queen to a1 and check the king. And then once, like, let's say the okay, so black's only move is to go b8, and then again we can execute a queen fork by simply just moving the queen to b1. So, um, so we or yeah, we're out of time right now. I hope that you found this to be very beneficial. But just remember this position. I do encourage you to like maybe you can take a snapshot of this position and maybe you can practice it on the computer. So remember, it is right to move. All I'm trying to do, all you're trying to do is to move the queen. You want to get into this position, but you want black to move instead. So just remember this triangle movement for the queen. So queen goes here, king goes here, queen goes to a1, king goes here, and then queen goes to a5, and then we achieve the exact same position, but it is black to move. So I am gonna go ahead and review this position next week. So that's great. Okay. So I hope you guys found I hope you found my lecture to be very helpful. And again, I will be here tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you guys, thank you so much for listening to me. I really appreciate it. And see you guys tomorrow.